Schools all across Ontario are closed indefinitely as COVID-19 cases continue to surge across the province. On Monday, the Ford government said while it was a decision they didn't want to have to make, it was necessary as variants of concern run rampant. They blame community transmission for the closure and say the problem isn't in schools.
This worrying trend will leave us in an impossible situation if we do not act immediately. And that is why, in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, we have made the decision to move elementary and secondary students across the province to remote learning following the April break. Our government is taking decisive action to keep your child safe.
Daycare for non-school age children will continue to remain open, but before and after school programming has been shut down. Free emergency childcare for frontline workers will be provided. The government didn't give any indication as to when schools might reopen, but the Premier says it will all depend on when case counts in communities start to decrease. Ontario is continuing to report over 4,000 new cases a day, and wastewater in Ottawa continues to show high rates of COVID-19.
We'll keep a constant eye on the data, on case numbers, hospital capacity, and ICU admissions to determine when we can get kids back in the classrooms. I want nothing more than to be able to open the schools up again as soon as possible. But we all need to work together right now to get the community spread under control. Folks, that's how we get the schools open.
The Children's Health Coalition, which includes Ottawa's Children's Hospital, has issued a statement urging the government to reopen schools as soon as possible. They understand why they had to close, but share the concern many parents have that in-person learning might be out for the summer. The Ontario government, meanwhile, continues to say the plan is to reopen schools when it's safe. The announcement of school closures has been long expected, and Ottawa was already preparing to shut down their schools after the April spring break. But on Sunday, just before the announcement of closures was made, Education Minister Stephen Lecce wrote a letter saying they would reopen. The government is blaming variants for the change in tune.
Let me be very clear. You know, this pandemic moves rapidly. These variants move rapidly. When we received information late in the afternoon, we decided to act immediately. And, you know, I wish I could predict where this variant goes every single day. But again, when we find out information and we received it, we have to act. I'm not ready to chance sending kids back to school as we see the peak hasn't even hit. We haven't even hit the peak in this variant.
In the past, with the initial COVID, we would look at a 7-day rolling average. The VOCs, the variants of concerns, are moving much quicker that way. We're not waiting for a whole week to see if the overall weekly average changes. That means we have to move much more nimbly as we see the data moving.
The Ontario Liberal Party has now issued a statement calling on Premier Ford to fire the Education Minister. Part of the statement read, "The infighting between Doug Ford and his Education Minister is putting our children and education workers at risk, and Lecce should be fired for it." Now, reaction to the school closures has been mixed, with some parents saying if there aren't that many active outbreaks in schools, then why close them? Then on the other hand, there are many parents who say this is a decision the government should have made over a week ago, so parents, teachers, and students could all prepare. They're also questioning how the data with variants could have changed so drastically in just 24 hours. Charlie Cenac, UIN News, Ottawa.